Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weisheit. Thank you for joining us. I want to let you know that Tuesday night, Terrebonne Parish School Board heard from a concerned resident concerning a new order from the USDA that would cut off school lunch funding over schools not allowing transgender students using the bathroom of their choice.
Item number 7, citizen concern, Ms. Vicky Coche, update on a federal threat to withhold lunch money from low-income children in public schools unless boys are allowed in girls' bathroom.
Hi, Vicki Kluche, Schriever. Thank y'all for letting me come tonight. I'm here to provide an update on a serious threat to our public school children. In June, the United States Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Services, or FNS, announced that the National School Lunch Program for low-income students would no longer be available unless state and local agencies that receive that funding agree to a pro-transgender interpretation of Title IX. That would mean that boys have full right to use formerly private girls' bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms at school. So technically, legally, what do we know? I don't know much because I'm not a legal person, but from what I understand, we know that expanding the concept of discrimination based on the basis of sex to now include gender identity and sexual orientation imposes a new and unlawful regulatory measure on schools receiving federal lunch money. We also know that this mandate circumvented the requirements of the Administrative Procedures Act by literally rewriting the law in Title IX and the Food and Nutrition Act. I provided you guys a copy of a letter signed by 26 state attorneys general writing Joe Biden asking that this whole thing be withdrawn and rescinded. And I bring up the legal aspect of this because there's a problem when there is a declaration made such as this, a press release. It's gone out on the news, it's going out to everybody. And the problem is that many states and school districts see this and they are afraid. And so they immediately start preparing for compliance. What we are asking is that we immediately start preparing for non-compliance to this. So what are we going to do? Where do we stand? Will we be set apart from this awful abuse of children? Will we, the adults, protect our children from radical ideology that does nothing but harm our children and threatens to punish them by withholding food? We spoke with a staff member from Attorney General Landry's office Thursday, and he assured us that Landry would immediately file a lawsuit, an injunction, against the Biden administration if they try to force the issue regarding school lunch funding. He mentioned multiple other states would also join in, and the goal would be to get it to the Supreme Court. So what are we to do? You know, Thomas Paine said, quote, "It is the duty of the patriot to protect his country from its government," end quote. And this is where we find ourselves.
Excuse me, 3 minutes are up. If anybody.
Motion to extend.
Moved by Mr. Hamlin, second by Mr. Ford. Anyone else would like to discuss that motion? Maker and a second. Any other board member? Hearing none, so ordered. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So our question to you is, what are we going to do right now? We propose that Terrebonne School District proceed proactively, and to do this by, number one, informing parents of two things. Informing parents of the Biden administration's and the USDA's new policy, effective August 3rd, 2022, that will deprive students of meals at school in order to force public schools to let boys and girls bathrooms. We also propose informing parents of the current letter asking for withdrawal filed by Attorney General Landry and the coalition of 26 state attorneys, calling on Biden to withdraw this policy. Parents don't know what's going on. They don't know about this. And we don't want this to hit them between the eyes and all of a sudden, you know, it's chaos. So they need to know. We'd like for them to know from you. Number two, we propose that publicly stating your opposition to this policy to parents, teachers, and the taxpayers of this parish. They need to hear from you. They need to know where their school board stands. And three, passing a resolution agreeing to hold and pause any decisions on this matter and allow the Attorney General of Louisiana to adjudicate this issue to the fullest extent, that is, to the Supreme Court if necessary. We have faith in Superintendent Orgeron and to our school board members that you have uncommon courage in these perilous times. As I said last time, this may well be the single most important decision you make in your tenure on this board. Our children are counting on you. We, the parents, grandparents, teachers, citizens, the folks who elected you are counting on you. Let's be the premier school board of the country. Let our light shine to all the other school boards that they can have courage too. As for us, we say we're going to do the righteous thing. And that's what we're asking of you. Thank you.
Mr. Ford?
I'd like to make a comment. Ms. Cloutier, thank you. Thank you for coming in. I don't see, oh, there you are. Thank you for coming in and addressing this issue. I know you've been advocating against it for a while, and I'm on board with you as well. I'm just gonna say this, and I'll go on record. I'll say it here. I'll say it on Facebook. I'll go talk to Joe Biden myself. Federal government needs to stay out of education. Our forefathers, they wrote this Constitution knowing that the overreach of the government was a concern that they had and we should all have. And this is just one of those times when they're actually trying to overstep their boundaries. As far as I'm concerned, we don't need their money. We'll find a way. And I think we as a state, not just as a district, but we as a state are strong enough collectively to come together and find a means of feeding our kids and, you know, keeping schoolhouses safe for everyone the way they were intended, the way they should be. So I'm not going to speak for anyone else on the board, but I do agree with you. We need to be proactive and we need to take a stand. Not just us as Terrebonne Parish, but as a state of Louisiana. And I'm very impressed with Jeff Landry and what he's been doing lately. And, you know, if he's watching this or he hears about this, come on down to Terrebonne Parish. You know, we'd love to have you at a school board meeting, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Mr. DeHart?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, many years that I've been serving on the school board, I've always kept children first. Any decision we ever had to modify, change, was always in the best interest of the student. I don't care who the President of the United States is. I respect the position and the person. I don't like to be threatened on Facebook. They want to replace all 9 of us up here. If we're not doing the job you expect of us, it's time for all of us to go. I'm not ready to go. And I've always fought for everything that I could to give the kids the best education and not discriminate against anyone. So I would never, that president can walk through that door right now and I would tell him in person, I'm not voting for this thing. It's the most ridiculous thing I've heard, and this is my 32nd year on the school board. I've heard many bad things, nothing as horrible as this. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Ms. Benoit?
Thank you, Mr. Harding. I want to thank you also, Ms. Cloutier, for coming and being vigilant about this particular issue, continually bringing it before the board. I support everything that you said. I think we should be proactive, and I think we should communicate this to parents. As a board, we need to discuss this and how we're going to go about that. But I do have a question for the superintendent. Typically, what I've always known is that if there are mandates placed on the board and there's no money that follows those mandates, we're not required to comply, typically. So, in other words, if they want us to have gender-neutral bathrooms or whatever, if we don't have the money to comply with that, we should not be somehow punished or withheld from the free lunch program because of that. But I also think we need to make a stand on how we feel about this. There's no way that I want a boy to be in a girl's bathroom. We already had some issues with that in other districts, and I don't want to see that here. Thank you.
Any other comment? Mr. DeHart?
Thank you, Mr. Harding. I apologize for getting the second turn of this. I definitely am encouraging us to think about through the committee process to do something. But on a second note, in 1990, I got on this board. We used to have to transfer $2 million a year to offset costs for food service. If that's what we have to do again, we have the means to do it. We're not rich, we're not wealthy, but anytime you cut something out of a budget for the right reason, it's still there for the children. Because no child can learn without having a good meal in front of them. Some of them come to school and that might be the best meal they had that day. But all I'm saying is that we have a responsibility to educate, and whatever it means it takes. And many, many years, I think Mr. Harding and Ms. Benwell might remember some of this, because we just three longest sitting board members up here tonight. We did have to transfer money, and then whenever the free program came, it was a blessing. But guess what? We did some other good things in the classroom with the money that we used to spend transferring from the general fund. So the public has been very supportive of us, and I just want to keep that in mind. Thank you, Mr. Harding. That's all I have.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
other comments?